All right, so you have all the layout done, and now it's time for us to put in some text. You'll remember that at the top we have a text box right up here. And if you double click in it, you're going to see your cursor, your blinking cursor, which allows you to actually text. We're going to put in the words Greenwood in fall. And the G in Greenwood and the F in fall should be capitalized. From here, we want to change our font size, or font and font size. So remember that depending on what you have selected, your options up here are going to look different. Right now, this is showing us a lot of text options. So if we go to this first one here, you're going to see that you have a long list of all of the fonts that are available to you. We're going to use, whoops, and sometimes it's easier just to type it in as opposed to go to that list. I'm going to use Times New Roman. Okay, so I type it in and it automatically changes it. And then I'm going to change the size of it to 68. And that's going to fill the text box. And then if I move over here to the right, notice that we have some alignment tools. I want to choose Align Center. And it just shifts it a little bit so that it sits in the middle. All right, now in Poland Pickup, there's an InDesign folder that has all of the source files you'll need for any of the InDesign files. We need to choose the one that's called Greenwood Text. And I believe I already have that folder open. There we go. Yep. Greenwood Text. And it's a Microsoft Word document, and it's fine because Adobe knows how to translate it on the Mac, even though we don't have Microsoft Word on our Macs at school. So what I want to do is I want to go to, actually I want to deselect that text frame there. And I want, so right now I have nothing selected, okay? I want to go to File and Place. I'm going to navigate, you're going to have to navigate to Poland Pickup. And then the InDesign folder, and you're choosing greenwoodtext.doc and click Open. And notice now on your cursor you see a little piece of text. And basically that's saying, okay, wherever you click, I'm going to place that text. So if I click on this text box that was in the left column, it places the text from that file. Now, I want to show you something different. If I had this text box selected and choose File Place and choose the same item, it automatically places it there. So I want you to see the difference, because originally I told you make sure you don't have anything selected. If you have the correct thing selected, that's fine, okay? But that's how that works. Next, we want to import, or not import, but place an image. In that same InDesign folder in Poland Pickup, we have, and if we do File Place, we have Greenwood Image, and it is an Illustrator file. And that's the nice thing about working with the Adobe files, is you don't actually have to save everything as specifically a JPEG or a GIF file. You can actually import the native files like Illustrator, Photoshop, etc. So I'm going to open that, and notice I have an image over here on my mouse, on my cursor. And same thing with the text file. If I'd had this image placeholder selected, it would have automatically gone there. Okay, so now I'm just going to click, and it's going to fill that placeholder for me. Now, don't be alarmed with the fact that the image is covering some of the text. We will fix that. But what we want to do first, notice that this image is not actually sitting in the middle of the image placeholder. So if we double click on this, notice how I have a hand, and notice how you can see the outline of the image. So I can actually, without moving the placeholder, I can actually move the image inside of the placeholder so that it is better centered inside of that. And then when I click off of it, you can see now that no parts of the image are being cut off. All right, so we're going to make some changes to what we see here. Let's start off by getting our selection tool, and let's select the text box that's holding the text Greenwood and Fall. We don't want to select the actual text, okay? So you don't want to double click in it. Notice how our properties change. I want just that text box, okay? And what I want to do is I want to give it a background color. I want that text box to be filled with a green. And what would be good is if I could match that green to one of the greens here in the image, and I can do that. So if we look over here at our toolbar, notice that we have our fill and our stroke, and whichever one is in front, that is actually what we're choosing, okay? So make sure your fill is in front, and I'm going to use my eyedropper tool to sample a green kind of from the bottom right of this leaf, okay? And it says that the image is a vector graphic, eyedropper values based on low resolution RGB proxy. That's fine, just click OK. And you can see that it automatically changes the background color to match that. Now, our text here would look better with some different contrast. So if I select the text now inside of that text box, instead of it being black, let's look at our, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's look at our swatches panel. And notice that we have some preset swatches. We have our basic CMYK colors here. We also have paper and black. So I'm going to go ahead and make the text paper, which is white, okay? And if I click off of it, I can click or I can use my escape key to deselect, and now my text is white also. Next, what I'd like to do is I want to change, next, it would be nice if we could change the shape of this image. So if we click on it using our selection tool, you're going to notice that we have this little yellow box over here to the right. If we click on this, this is going to give us what we call live corners. Basically what that does is it just lets us edit the corners. So now if I hold the Shift key down and click on this yellow diamond in the upper left corner, and if I drag it to the right, kind of to where this column intersects is, and it's going to be about the radius of 3 pica 8.4. And watch how I do this. I'm going to hold down Shift, just dragging it to the right, and you can see radius. 3 pica 8.4 is what I'm looking for. There it is. It's almost right on that edge. And what it does is it gives me a nice rounded corner. I'm going to do the same thing with the one at the bottom left. Hold down my Shift key, drag it to the right, and I want it to go the same direction. So 3 pica 8.4, and it should be right on that line. And there we have it. Now if I click off of it and click on it again, the live corners aren't there until I click on that yellow box. But I have rounded corners, which gives me a different look that I can use. Now, go ahead and click on your graphic. And remember that it's not actually selecting the graphic unless you double click. It's selecting the box or the frame that it's in. We want to give this a stroke color. So I'm going to go ahead and right here, I'm going to make sure my stroke is in front. And I'm actually going to use my stroke panel. You see your stroke panel here? I'm going to change the stroke thickness, that's the weight, to 3 point. Okay, so you can already see that it has a color. I'm going to change the stroke type to wavy down here. And I want to put in specific CMYK colors. So I'm going to go to the color panel. Right now it's set at RGB, but I can go up here to the options and change it to CMYK. And I can change the C to 65, the M to 60, the Y to 0, and the K to 0. And that puts in a purpley wavy box around the edges. And there it is. Oops, somehow. Oh no, it's still there. And so I have a purple wavy 3-point border around that box. Now it's time that we go ahead and use our text wrap so that we can see the text that is behind this text box. So I'm going to click on this text box and I'm going to go to the window menu, and you notice that I have a panel called text wrap. I'm going to click on it, and we want to wrap around. So I'm going to use right here, wrap around bounding box. That's the second one. And so your text should just kind of nudge over to the left a little bit so that it flows all the way down. Go ahead and do a Command S just to save as you go. And after you hit save, I want you to notice that at the end of this text box, at the end of this first column, notice that we have a little red box that has a plus in it. This is what we call the overset text marker. And basically what it means is there is text that does not fit in this text box, and if we click on it, it loads it to our cursor so that we can thread it to the next text box. So you see how here it says the flaming reds of scarlet oaks. And then if we look at our next one, you see that we still have some overset text. So I'm going to go ahead and save here. You should do the same, and we will finish this up in the next video.